Hi guys, welcome to Robin Hood Diaries again today. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Today I previewed something like obsessive thrift shopping, but this is not going to be sort of like a continuum of like, oh, I liked thrift shopping, the end. No, this was more like the Matterhorn. This was more like Magic Mountain. It started at a time like a triggery time, then it went got out of control, and then went on a steep decline. So started in around the time, I mean, I've always been, I grew up with antiques and, my dad had Art Nouveau, Art Deco, pop, art, whatever. But my taste kind of went left of center. So in and around the time that Johnny is dying, I also have a best friend named Taz. And, during difficult times or after difficult times or after a difficult time, you oftentimes try to fill the void, even in the panic of imminent sort of catastrophe, as it were. So this became a pastime that grew into a full tilt obsession with interiors of where I lived. And it was all about the hunt. So it started off with already having kind of a baseline appreciation of Goodwill, like kind of we all do. And even at 14, I was with my girlfriend buying like cool paintings and, lots of clothes. But this was different. Taz and I ramped up like a rocket, sort of getting ready to launch on every thrift store in the county. So I'm talking like it wasn't just going to Goodwill in Silver Lake. This was like way deep into Aqua Dulce, Granada Hills, completely towards, what do they call it, Oxnard, down towards Pomona. I mean, anywhere and everywhere. We knew click, 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 where to go. It would just depend on what part of town we were in at the time, and then you'd start the roll, the candy vine of stores along to its logical conclusion, and no more gas. And then you come home with a shit ton of stuff, to the point where, as I started ramping up with my collection starting to like bloat, I was replacing, as again, you probably heard, kind of like not a hoarding thing, but kind of sort of adjacent. Like, oh, I have to have this. Let's get 3 of those 3 and I'll put this here. No, this one is so much better. Let me put that back there and put these again and again and again through 3 apartments. So the first one that Johnny and I were living in is when it started happening. And I'm, it's like our place, I mean, okay, velvet paintings, but, I don't want to say tasteful, but very kitsch. That was my whole affect, interior-wise, during these few apartments. Full tilt kitsch. So, you got your velvet paintings, you got your cool painting your apartment with accent walls, and you got like, Matador, all this kitschy stuff. So this is starting to ramp up. And Taz, who had an apartment in the same building, he's ramping up to the point where he had like this it was an ancient apartment. I mean, like, people would walk around with no pants on. The manager was like, that sheriff from Dukes of Hazzard, whatever, long story. Anyway, he had his here, Johnny and I had ours there. Now we're sort of overflowing with stuff. He's got like picture frames hanging and stars and paintings, and mine's starting to fill up. So then I moved to Holloway in like, Ground Zero, West Hollywood.